President Trump's DOJ and the ATF are going rogue on gun owners, but I don't think President Trump knows anything about it. Today we're going to be looking at a list of gun owners that's being requested from the DOJ. And on the surface, it might look like just kind of simple procedures and litigation, but at the end of the day, this, make no mistake about it, is actually a list in which the DOJ could use against gun owners. And so it is a big deal. And I want to tell you which companies, organizations are involved, how the DOJ and why they're actually requesting this list, which gun owners could be involved as well. But also, I'm going to tell you why I don't think President Trump has any knowledge of this. I'll fill you in there too. I have some pretty good reasoning actually to think that he doesn't know. So I'll give you my opinion and I want to hear yours. Whatever it might be, let's go ahead and jump right in. Here's what this entire thing is about. The FPC, the Second Amendment Foundation versus Garland. 80% lowers. Redefining frames and receivers. Well, there was an injunction that was filed for the FPC and Second Amendment Foundation members. So they were protected under this injunction because the ATF decided it wants to now change what the definition of a frame or receiver actually is. Essentially taking away a pretty long-standing right. Even though states have tried to counter this, right? The ability to just have a gun personally for yourself has always been more important to the Second Amendment than what I think people may think. It gives a buffer between gun owners, paperwork, 4473s, tracking, tracing, and just the simple fact that the government, it's none of their business. What guns you have, how many guns you have, simple as that. So it removes one of those buffers. But FPC members and SAF members were covered. But the DOJ is requesting a full list of these members so they can then say who is covered in what cases, who was active at the time, so they know exactly who is operating inside the bounds of the injunction, who is operating outside the bounds of this new rule that was passed under Biden. Well, the very first thing that I'm thinking is, why are we enforcing this at all? Why aren't we trying to actually get rid of this rule that Biden put in place? Okay, that's my first question. That's something they really need to be working on. You see this constant back and forth. That's why I'm always trying to keep up with it, because it's like, in one case, the DOJ goes directly to Illinois. I made a video about this, where they're standing up for the AR and gun owners that own them. But in the next breath almost, it's like, hey, by the way, 80% frames and receivers, yeah, that definition actually looks like it's pretty good. We're going to keep that definition. And by the way, we want a full list of your members. Now, we're not talking about a list of people to send out Christmas cards to. We're talking about presumably gun owners, right? If they're a part of these organizations, they're gun owners, they will be gun owners, they support gun rights, and the full list in hand, unfettered access to that completely. How about no? And that's what the FPC and the SAF told the DOJ. No, we're not providing that. Now, they would have self-destructed if they would have turned those lists in. Let's be totally honest, because if you sign up to an organization, both of which, GOA, FPC, Second Amendment Foundation, I have a lot of respect for them right now in time anyways, right? You always got to put that out there too. But I have a lot of respect for what they do. But if you have members that signed up under the impression, hey, you're going to do the fighting for the Second Amendment, I paid you to do that, you're going to stand up kind of for what I believe in Washington and in other states, I don't want to be involved in that. I want to know that I'm protected under your injunction for sure, but this isn't the only way to like protect or verify members. They don't have to get a full list of all these members. The Supreme Court has consistently struck down full membership requests and details because it violates the First Amendment, and in this case violates not only the First but the Second as well. So the two most important rights that we actually have, you're talking about an absolute firestorm if any one of these companies were to give over that information. These full disclosure lists are rare, right? The constitutionality of it, courts hate the idea of phishing, and so you have to prove to the court why you need the list of names that you do, or like in most cases, you're going to have to take a narrower path in order to get the names that you want. And there's a few different ways that they could actually do that without getting a full list. Under threat of perjury, right? You could have members that want to be covered. If they're in a lawsuit or whatever the case might be, they sign, hey, I was a member of this organization at this time, period. They could do something like sealed documents. So even this, I don't like the idea of any of this, to be honest with you, but if they need the names, if they do like a sealed document, so really the court gets access to it, the DOJ nor the ATF gets an all access pass to your information. The DOJ could send a list of people that are claiming to be covered under the injunction to the court. Then the court themselves could reach out to those individuals to verify that they were a part of the injunction as well. But of course, none of this information needs to be released publicly, and you surely don't want the DOJ nor the ATF having access to that. And you may say, well, what's the big deal? It just seems normal that in these kind of cases you want to give over, your information so you know that you're covered. Well, here's where gun rights groups, activists, gun owners, that's why you should all care about this, because we know the government, if they have access to all of this information, what they can do with it. Maybe not in this administration, but maybe the next one that's not so pleasant to gun owners and gun rights can absolutely weaponize that. We've seen them do it multiple times before in multiple different countries. We've seen them do it in our own country. Remember, the ATF right now has close to 1 billion documents. Out of business FFLs, unfortunately more closed under Biden than any previous administration, but also the new rule that even current gun shops that are open have to retain those 4473s indefinitely. And then if that gun shop closes, that becomes property of the ATF. They trace it into their tracing system, the NTC. So they have 1 billion of these documents. This has already been confirmed, by the way. That's not some kind of crazy conspiracy. Now, according to them, they say, oh, well, it's only firearm or serial number searchable. Well, you can't search by a name. But if you believe that, I don't know, I got some oceanfront property in Oklahoma, super screaming deal, just hit me up and we'll talk. The point is, we don't trust you with that information. There's no need. There's no reasoning you should have that information. So that just brings up further distrust. And also, why isn't the DOJ directing the ATF to get rid of that information? Remember, our own government has used these compiled lists against us. It happened to the Japanese in World War II with the internment camps. It happened in New York City to gun owners. So those gun owners got letters that they had to either destroy those rifles or bring them into compliance with the laws. They've long had gun registration type of things, I think going all the way back to 91, maybe even before that. They've had it going on for a long time. California has done it for feature bans and all of that. So if you think they wouldn't use that against you or some administration, yeah, I don't buy that for a second. And I applaud FPC and SAF for saying, yeah, no, we're not giving over anything. And I don't think President Trump knows about this. This is just an assumption. But seeing what he's done since day one to now, most of which has been good, some of it's not been so good, like a list of gun owners, the red flags are going to go off tremendously if you're asking for a list of their information, knowing how gun owners are when it comes to that, and for good reason too. And we know that the DOJ does hold a certain amount of independence, right? So is President Trump looking at every single piece of gun legislation or new rulemaking or what the ATF is constantly doing? Well, no, right? To be fair, the economy, immigration, tariffs, medications, healthcare, et cetera, right? There's a lot that he is dealing with. So this one specifically, I don't know. I just think that it would have brought way too many red flags. And I think even having the knowledge that this stuff is still there should bring up a red flag too. And like say, hey, why are we still following Biden's orders essentially, why aren't we trying to get rid of this altogether? That's going to be an uphill battle, I think, for some of it, but still, I just don't know that he would follow this up. That's just an assumption, of course, but I think probably a pretty good one. Overall, though, this is a great move by the FPC, by the SAF, and the DOJ needs to revert back to what they have been doing, like standing up for gun owners in Illinois and standing up for the AR and doing things like that. On some level, I almost feel like there needs to be some major communication between the DOJ and President Trump. Hey, look, the DOJ, Pam Bondi, she's kind of getting a little out of control like she did in Florida. Remember that? Yeah, we might need to, just bring her in, have a little meeting and say, what the hell are you even doing? That's just my opinion, though. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.